Welcome to the INFOWARS Nightly News. I'm your host, Jakari Jackson. It's April 8th, 2015, and here's a look at our top stories.
Tonight, a South Carolina cop is charged with murder after a video shows him shooting an unarmed man in the back. Then, the Democrats want the IRS to pay gun owners to turn in their guns.
Mr. and Mrs. America, turn them all in.
And check this out, a free tool that shows what apps are really doing behind your back. Plus, how to talk to the cops. That's coming up next on the INFOWARS Nightly News.
One of the hot topics in the news right now is, should police officers be required to wear body cameras? Well, in the cases of Kelly Thomas or Eric Garner, we have the officers on video committing the offenses, but nothing happened. But it's not the case this time. We have a situation in South Carolina where an officer falsified a report and was only brought to justice after video by a pedestrian came to light. And luckily, there just so happened to be a passerby with a camera. Otherwise, it would have been the officer's police report versus the non-testimony of the dead victim. And for more on this, we have Leanne McAdoo. Leanne, when you first saw this report, what did you think?
I was really shocked with this video. Just to see a police officer so casually shoot a man in the back 7 times, and he takes a pause, and then he shoots him one more time for good measure. That was just shocking. But once again, we have this case that underscores the importance of filming police encounters, because very quickly we saw that they were falsifying the report. Here's the original story that the officer gave before this horrifying video emerged of him killing Walter Scott. So the officer, Michael Slager, he said through his former attorney that he first pulled over this Mercedes-Benz. It had a broken brake light Saturday morning around 9:30 a.m. Then he said that Walter Scott fled on foot, and according to the police report, Slager announced on the police radio that he deployed his taser, but it didn't work. A struggle ensued. Scott allegedly tried to grab the taser. Slager radioed the department to say that Scott had gotten a hold of his device, and then Slager says that he felt threatened and fired his gun. So that on Saturday, the police come out and they release a statement saying Scott had attempted to gain control of a taser from Slager and that he was shot in a struggle over the weapon. And so it was that testimony from police that prompted this anonymous witness to come forward. He showed that video to the family and he said, this is absolutely false what the police are saying. And a lot of people are saying that this witness is a hero because he had this footage of a police officer committing murder here and killing this man. So pretty shocking.
That's completely unreasonable. We saw a similar situation here in Austin where they shot, I believe his name was Larry Jackson, a gentleman who went to a bank after the bank had been robbed. You know, he went to cash a check, or as the police say, to commit a fraud. And so he takes off and the police follow the guy. He takes off running, for whatever reason. He wasn't the guy who robbed the bank because this gentleman happened to be black. The man who robbed the bank was white, so he wasn't a suspect, but the officer decided to pursue him anyway. Long story short, the officer catches up to the guy, the struggle ensues, and Larry Jackson ends up dead with a bullet in the back. So, anytime somebody gets shot in the back, you always have to question, was the shooting necessary in the first place? Because as we can clearly see in this video, the man takes off running. He's several yards from the officer. When the officer is able to pull out the weapon, fire multiple shots, striking the man multiple times and then killing him. And for anybody at home, if somebody breaks into your house and, he takes off running, he's of no threat to you, you can't just pull out a gun and just shoot him in the middle of the street. Now, if it gets to kind of a murky place, let's say the guy had a firearm, he said, hey, well, he's running to get in a better position to shoot back at me. Okay, you may have some leeway with this, but the man had no visible weaponry, so the officer had really no reason to shoot him at all. Thank you for your commentary, Leanne, and hopefully we can stop these things from happening by just having vigilant people armed with their cameras. And now we'll move on. Since we're talking about guns there, let's talk about guns in a different way. What if you could get paid to turn in your firearm? So that's what Representative Rosa DeLaria is hoping people will do. She's from Connecticut, and she introduced the Support Assault Firearm Elimination and Education of Our Streets Act, which would offer people tax credits up to $2,000 to turn in their firearms. So anyway, they can get your firearms. And I don't know about Connecticut or how other states do their business, but it was in Arizona where Gabby Giffords is from. They resell those weapons. So you say, I'm gonna be a good citizen and go turn in my firearm. They take the firearm that you gave at that police gun buyback and go and sell that to somebody else. So in a lot of these states, you don't even get the guns out the streets. You just redistribute the firearms and give the police officers the proceeds. But hey, you know, each his own. I'm not giving up my guns one way or the other. And since we're talking about what people are doing in the dark, what is your phone doing when you're not paying attention?
So the app that we're talking about is to check what apps are running in the background and where the data for those apps are going. It's not necessarily spying necessarily. A lot of the times on Android devices, which is what this app is for, a lot of data has to sync back and forth, and this app is telling you where that data is being synced to.
And we'll end tonight with this before we go into more special reports and an interview. Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, the younger brother, the one who's still alive from the Boston bombing, has been found guilty on all charges, I believe 30 counts. And for more on this, we have Staff Sergeant Joe Biggs.
Joe Biggs here with INFOWARS.com with some breaking news. In the Boston bombing trial, a jury has found Dzhokhar Tsarnaev guilty in the Boston bombings, which occurred on April 15th of 2013, that killed 3 people and injured more than 260 people. Now, this was just the first phase of the entire trial to find out whether or not he is guilty. The second part will decide whether or not Dzhokhar spends life in prison and or gets the death penalty. Either way, that'll take a little bit more time as well. But there's some interesting things to remember in this entire case. Years ago, the FBI actually interviewed Tamerlan Tsarnaev, the older, now dead brother of Dzhokhar, and his mother. So after the actual bombing occurred, the FBI went out, put up the pictures of both Tamerlan and Dzhokhar, saying, who are these guys? We don't know who they are, and denied the fact that they had previously interviewed these men. So if that doesn't send up a red flag, I don't know what else will. But another interesting fact as well in this entire case is that Dzhokhar entered a not guilty plea at the beginning of this entire trial, but then his lawyer came out and said that he was guilty. So obviously the jury's going to come to the guilty verdict when the lawyer of Dzhokhar himself comes out and says that he is in fact guilty. So there you have it. The lawyer has completely shut off any opportunity to look in this any deeper, and now we're on to the second phase to find out whether or not he gets life in prison or the death penalty.
And be sure to stay tuned, because at the end of our show, we'll have a special report from the vault. Dan Badandi asking real questions immediately after the Boston bombing at the press conference there. We'll also have Eddie Craig telling you what to do when you encounter the police, and also John Bound has a special report detailing the history and the underbelly of Jade Helm.
My name is Alex Jones. Most of you know me from my syndicated radio program and my documentary films, as well as INFOWARS Nightly News. When I got on air 20 years ago, I had discovered the globalist program, their plan to take over the world, and my focus went from running 6 miles every other day, swimming 2-3 miles a couple times a week, and lifting weights, to focusing on fighting the globalists. I've gone from 279 pounds all the way down to 235 pounds, and the weight's going off even faster. Super Male Vitality, Survival Shield X2 Nascent Iodine, and Oxy Powder. Those 3 products of the entire family of InfoWarsLife.com products are the most important from my own personal experience. And it wasn't just that my weight loss accelerated, my muscle mass increased, my stamina, my energy levels exploded. Now is the time to take action. Start your journey today with the Alex Challenge Pack. It's the trifecta of change. Secure yours today and get free shipping for a limited time at InfoWarsLife.com or 888-253-3139. INFOWARS Life and InfoWarsLife.com is extremely excited to announce our latest release, Winter Sun, a revolutionary type of vitamin D3. Winter Sun is a premium quality vitamin D3 nutritional supplement. It is produced by extracting oil from healthy, nutrient-dense plants known as lichens. Every batch is analyzed for purity and D3 content. It's completely free of toxins and allergens. Simply put, if you want the best at an extremely low price, this is it. Winter Sun is the result of our pursuit of the best source of vitamin D3. The research and development took over 2 years, but the result, as verified by independent laboratories, is the best vegan vitamin D3 product in the world. Read the facts at InfoWarsLife.com about Winter Sun Vitamin D3. Not only does vitamin D3 promote a healthy mood, but vitamin D supports our memory and brain function, something the globalists are targeting. Visit InfoWars.com today or call 888-253-3139.
Last Thursday morning, 148 Kenyan University students were slaughtered. The al-Shabaab terrorists from neighboring Somalia took their time executing and beheading Christians and innocents that could not or would not recite from the Quran. It took troops from Kenya's capital, Nairobi, to finally arrive in Garissa just before 2 p.m., 7 hours after the massacre began.
What is adequate? About 150 people face down on the ground, many of them shot in the head, execution style, and parents and students saying we were waiting for several hours.
The response was adequate, and because of the military garrison that was actually quite close to the university, one cannot actually say that the response was slow.
While it took the Kenyan military a neglectful 7 hours to finally arrive at the massacre in Garissa, the United States reflects that same slothful response our taxpayer dollars burn for.
Patty showed them a small revolver she was carefully holding in the palm of her hand. A camera crew was there to capture what unfolded next.
I said, it's not even loaded. And I dropped it on the floor.
You got a gun?
Well, they punched me in the face. Look at my black and blue marks. Look at what they did to me.
No one will be able to be armed. We will take all weapons.
Katrina was the dry run for what we have come to expect from a federal response. Katrina was surreptitiously politicized by the Bush administration, while hundreds of volunteer firefighters and National Guard were ordered to wait for days until finally being authorized to respond to the massive devastation. During the ordeal, then Vice President Cheney ordered a Mississippi Electricity Cooperative to restore power to a gas pipeline rather than restoring power to 2 rural hospitals. And after the fact, we learned that the White House was fully aware that the levees had broken and flooding was underway as it happened, contrary to what they told the public.
It is chaos along the Jersey Shore. The superstorm battering the barrier islands. In the crosshairs, Atlantic City.
Look, talk about a delayed reaction. It's kind of like Force 10 from Navarone, where they detonate the dam and it doesn't collapse right away. It takes a few minutes. Sandy's worse than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was mainly hype, and they still did overhype it as basically the storm of all time, Satan incarnate ravaging the East Coast.
The cops were geared up in their, paramilitary gear. They just didn't want to deal with anybody. I could kind of understand that, but you could tell some of these guys were really getting off on it.
The Pentagon's done breakdowns in different countries watching this. Over 90% will start killing for food and water. And within 15 days, 90+%, depending on which study, it's right over 90, become cannibals. Within 15 days, the 9 out of 10 plus people will start eating others. Now, I mean, it's not going to get to that point, obviously, but notice this is happening in areas where you have people that are disarmed in these big mega cities that are death traps during disasters. I mean, if there was ever a big earthquake in L.A. or New York, a really big one, I mean, the system isn't going to be able to help you, and they aren't going to. They're going to come and take your guns.
According to the FBI statistics regarding percent distribution of incidents where police came to the victim by police response time and type of crime, When it comes to violent crime, the highest percentage of response time fell under 11 minutes to an hour. And